I got my recording going, so we can go ahead and start. So I'm just looking at the weekly. We had a nice buyback. You're just looking at these weekly candles here. You see this long tail wick on that weekly close right there, and we've already started falling through on this weekly candle. And so I kind of, if I expect this weekly candle, if it closes above the open of this previous weekly candle like it is right now, then we're going to have continuation and take out the highs. That's just uh, basing it on the candlestick patterns here. I would expect, if this weekly candle closes above that open of that red candle, then we'll easily go back to the all-time high. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now. So I'll be watching this weekly candle closely to see what it does, if it's going to close bullishly like this or if it's going to get pushed back down. Obviously, if it gets pushed back down, that wouldn't be a very good sign, um, for us to continue to all-time high, especially if it gets pushed back down and closes red. That would be a sign to me that we had weakness and we could continue going lower potentially to, you know, this range right here where we had support on, between these two weekly candles down here. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm just going to go ahead and drop down to a lower time frame so we can see what's going on. But so far it looks pretty bullish. If I had to put some kind of count on it, you know, uh, we had the potential for a flat, and this could be a running flat. What you would want to see in a running flat is a hidden bullish divergence, which we have on the daily. So you have a lower low in RSI and a higher high, or a higher low in price. So it's basically just meaning that the strength is getting down to the oversold, more oversold than the previous sell-off, and it's not able to make a new low, and so it ends up making a higher low and a lower low and on RSI. So that gives you a hidden bullish divergence, which is normally what you look for in running flats. So if this is a running flat um, like that, then that's what you'd be looking for. Normally you want to see like 5 waves in the C right here. So normally you would want to see something kind of like that instead, um, and then come out of that. But we didn't. We got what looks to me mainly to be like a 3 wave down. So you know, Elliott wave is not always perfect. You're not always going to get the 5 waves that you want to see, um, and that's why I'm not like a big time like Elliott wave. I don't know what you would call it. Extremist, because it doesn't always work out, textbook. And so you have to take into account a lot of different things. If you just use Elliott wave alone, it's not always going to give you the best setup, especially if you're trying to take every trade off of Elliott wave. You're going to be most likely forcing it a lot of times. And so I try to keep it somewhat simple and look for like the most high probability structures when I'm using Elliott wave. But there was a pretty decent support zone in here. You can see where it was resistance, and then we broke back above, and so that should be support right there. And then also the fib retracement of this B wave right here. So if you pull the fib from the start of the B to the top of the B, we'll come right down between the zero point 0.5 and 618 right here. So it was definitely, the signs were there to be buying. I didn't buy, but the signs were there to be buying. With the previous resistance flip to support right here, the fib levels, and then also this hidden bullish divergence on the daily. So there were definitely factors to be buying right there. And then also fundamentally, you got a lot of Bitcoin leaving exchanges. Elon Musk, Tesla's starting to accept Bitcoin. There's a lot of different things going on, so there's definitely reasons to be buying right there, technically and fundamentally. So what we have to look for now is You know, you could have looked at this as a corrective bull flag, which we've broken out of now, so you would expect continuation. And so, just like we looked at on the weekly, you know, if it continues the momentum, I mean, honestly, we could be probably at all-time high by the end of the week. But even if we're not, we'd be looking to see that weekly bullish close and start to gravitate towards here. So we'll just have to see how this holds up. Um, you can pull a fib. You can pull a fib from the B high down to the C low as well, and see what kind of resistance we're coming up on fib wise. I'm going to come back down to like something lower. We'll do like a 2 hour. So maybe a 4 hour. So you can see resistance on the way up. So if you had this fib pulled, you know, from wick to wick, um, up here at the high, take that dash line off. So from the high of the B down to the low of the C, once we started coming up right here, you could expect reactions at the 0.5, which we got, which would have been nice for like an intraday swing short, or just playing reactions off of it for a scalp. So that would have been one of the trades that could have been taken, and now we've come out of here nicely today up into this range right in here. So this is still resistance right in here. You can see where we had resistance back here, where we flipped the resistance right there. It looks like we're starting to poke through that though. So if we can get above that, then we'd be looking at up here as the next level. Around the 786 would be kind of the next level I would think we would gravitate towards. If we hold above here, then head right there and see what kind of reaction we can get right there. But ultimately, what I would want to be looking for at this point, considering, you know, I didn't get in here, I haven't really been trading the past couple days to get in on any of these little retraces right here. So what I would be looking for like a swing is be looking for some kind of retrace of this move, because you know everything's gonna move, you know, like everything's gonna, when it moves, you're gonna get a retrace. And you'd be looking for some kind of break of the channel. So it looks like we got some kind of structure on this right now. I don't know if you'd want to draw it. What's going on here? I don't know if you'd want to draw it like that, or how you'd want to draw it. We probably need a little more price action to develop. Might have to come from that low. End up getting something kind of like this that wedges up and then breaks down. And so I'd be looking for something like that. Uh, Once this tops out, that's what I'd be looking for to buy a pullback, because we missed this little pullback. Really wasn't even enough to get in on. It didn't even get to the 382. If you pull a fib from the bottom to that local high right there, when it rejected to that 0.5, it didn't really give you much of a pullback. So I'd be looking for, whenever this tops out, you know, it could top out now, it could go up to here and then top out, it could even come up to the highs right here and then top out, and then give us you know, some kind of pullback. And so that's what I would be looking for to get in. And you would pull your fib to wherever that high is from this low, because we would, from bullish perspective, we would be looking at this as kind of the first impulse out of the correction. Because if this is a B, C running flat that we'd, you know, kind of been talking about and looking at being a potential, then you would expect the first wave out of here to be, you know, the first impulse, and you would get a retrace to the 0.5. Ideally, you'd get a retrace to the 0.5 to be able to buy. And so that's what I would be looking for. And it would be even better to see this wave really push up here, because then that would give us even more confidence that this is going to be bullish, and we're going to continue to, you know, much higher prices up in the 70s, maybe even the 80s on this next push. And so that's currently what I'm looking at. And like I said, it could roll over here and then we get some kind of retrace. So when it looks like it is starting to retrace a good bit, you know, just pull the fib to wherever that local high looked like it was when it starts to roll over. And so it could happen, this resistance could happen up here. And so I'll be watching for that, and I'll be kind of drawing that up as it looks like we're starting to roll over and post it in the TA chat room. But very high probability that we're going to get some kind of move like that, and it'll likely come off of some kind of structure. And so I'm not sure exactly what this structure will look like, but we'll most likely trend up in some kind of structure like this, and then once we break that structure, we'll have a corrective structure that comes down into our retracement levels, kind of like that. And so we could be buying in these retracement levels, and then, or we could wait for it to come up out of here and then give us a micro pullback and buy that retracement, for the continuation. So there's a lot of different ways you can play it. I'm just trying to keep instilling this into each video of what to look for and how to play these whenever you get these channels. The impulsive moves up and then the corrective moves down. Know how to pull the fibs and how to look about getting entries on those. So take this off. I want to try to project some probable areas if this is a running flat right here, like where we could potentially be going on this move. And I want to go back out to like a daily, because I've showed these before, but we can go through them here. Let me just get rid of all this again. So I'm going to do a fib extension. So looking at this from Elliott wave, you look at this as one big impulse corrective wave. So that's a one big 1-2, and then we're still in a 3 wave of this higher degree, and we'll have to put a 4 wave in the future, and then a 5 wave to finish this bull run. And so the question is where are we within this 3rd wave before we have somewhat of a 40-50% correction potentially on its 4 wave. So what I'm looking at is, and what we looked at in probably the last video, is this being a 1-2, that being a 1-2 right here, and so all of this right here is potentially the end of a 3rd within the 3rd. And so I'll do it like that, and I'll have to change the color. And the reason I start looking for, and the reason that this kind of makes sense to me, actually I'm going to have to go up a degree on all these. That micro, make that. The reason that this kind of makes sense to me is that once you start getting close to the 3, 4, 5s, and then you start looking for divergences. And so we've been having a lot of divergences on the daily. There's there's one there, another one there. We can potentially even start making another one. That doesn't mean that this divergence right here with all these lower highs in RSI and higher highs in price doesn't mean that has to play out for a steeper correction. This RSI could come back up and make another high and then have to go through another cycle of divergences again, which would mean that this would have to do something like that before it comes down, which is very, is definitely a possibility, so we have to keep that in mind. But when you start seeing all these divergences like this, you start to, from an Elliott wave perspective, I start to look for, there's 3, 4, 5 potential coming in. And so I'm not sure exactly where we're at right now. And just looking at this, though, this looks like some kind of move where we had a correction here, and this is a very long correction in time, but not a very deep correction. But just the fact that it happened so long in time makes me think this was the first impulsive move, and that was wave 2. And then we've come out of this with another 1-2, which this looks like a 3-4, and then we're putting in some kind of 5, is what it looks like to me. And let me change this. And so I don't know where this 5 is going to end. So if we continue up, this could be, some kind of ending diagonal instead of like a running flat. Like we're looking at this as a, the only problem I have with a running flat is I just don't know how to fit that into this count from an Elliott wave perspective. This could be a potential where we have, a ending fifth wave diagonal, where this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have like one last push up for this 5, and then we have a breakdown, which would kind of line up with all these divergences playing out and for the RSI to come back down. So that's one potential that I'm looking for, which would mean that we're going to break the highs one last time, but we're just going to keep getting these divergences. Uh, and if this rising wedge can't break to the upside, then we would have a breakdown back to retest some EMAs, support levels, and then grind around, for maybe another month or so before we continue up on the bull run to kind of complete this major third wave right here, at a much higher price. And so it's just hard for me to get super, super bullish with technical indicators like the divergences and everything, and then the Elliott wave count being kind of unclear. I don't want to project too high for targets. Like if I was going to be entering longs at some point this week, I don't want to project too high just because of the fact that it could still roll over and chop around for a month or two. It's still bullish, but it would just chop around a lot, and so I don't want to get too aggressive with like any swing long targets. So looking at it like this, if this is a 1-2, which is pretty obvious to me, big 1-2, we're going to come in for a 3. So where would that yellow 3 end? We would do a fib extension from the low to the high of that 1 down to the low of that 2. And when we do that, you want to make sure that it's on log scale. So like right click it and go to settings. Make sure that the fibs are on log scale because it's such a big move. It needs to be on log scale. You can see that the 1618 is a high probability. If you've watched my analysis videos before, you heard me say that the fib extension, the 1618 on a third wave is high probability, um, you know, projecting from the 1-2. And so that's where we got that first reaction. That looks like it gave us a 3-4 on that degree, and now we're coming up here, and we're just kind of in no man's land on this fib extension, because the 2618 is where I think that this bull run is going to eventually get to. Just based on fib extensions and what Bitcoin has done in the past to reach its fib extensions, I would expect the 2618 to get realized at some point during this bull run. I don't know if it's going to happen on this push, or if we'll have to put in, some kind of more substantial correction and then come in for a 5 that could potentially realize that and potentially go higher in this bull run. So, but I am looking at that as a potential target over the next like year for Bitcoin up here, since we've realized that one 2618, especially for the fifth to get there. And this is just for the third. I'm projecting where this yellow 3 would get. The 3 could potentially get there on one push. If it doesn't, then you have to put in the 3, 4, 5. The 5 is actually the most likely one to get there, because sometimes the third doesn't always have the most strength to get there. You have to have some chop before the 5 ultimately realizes the 2618, because the 1618 is really the wave 3 high probability, which we've already blasted through that, and we've put in a lot of waves that give us somewhat of a good idea that the third's not even done yet, and we still have room for this yellow 3 to still go up. So it could go up to there. If it doesn't, I would expect the fifth to reach that before the end of the bull run. And so another fib extension we can do is looking at this white 1-2 right here, because we can do fib extensions off of that to see where the white 3 should end as well, if this is the actual proper count. And so we're just kind of using this as a probability. But if I go from the low of that 1 to the high, so it could be this high, or it could be that high. You use either one just to see what happens. And then you can also use either low. So this either use the spike down low here, or use the the end of where it looks like the sideways consolidation ended before it started moving up. You could use that low. And so I would tend to use that low because that's really where the end of the correction took place in my mind. If this is going to be some kind of weird looking running flat type correction where you got an A down, 3 wave move up for a B, and then a C diagonal that ended right there. So that's kind of how I'm viewing that as a correction. And so when I do that, you can see that there was a zone of confluence right here where we had a 2 1618. So we had the 1618 from that wave 1 2, and we also had the 1618 from this white 1 2 if we're pulling it like that. And so you can see there was a lot of confluence right there for a rejection, which is what we got. And then you can see the 2618 is actually lower for this 1 2, which makes sense because it's a smaller move than the 2618 up here. So maybe our yellow 3 makes it to that 2618, which would be 114,000. So that would be one area that I would be looking out for in the future. I don't. It's not one that I would be looking for on this red 5. And that's what I was talking about. Like if this is going to play out as an ending diagonal, then we could come down for, the white 4 would have to come down, and then we come up for the white 5 a little later in the year. So that's one level to look for this year. You could do the same thing for this red to see where the potential 5 would be, because you would want to see like a 2618 maybe for that 5. So we'll do a fib extension from the start of this red one. It's hard to see if I get it on there. So from that start of that red one up to the high of the red one down to the low of the wave 2. And so far this has just been hit crazy extensions because it was such a parabolic move right here. This wave 3 actually hit the 4236, which happens to line up with all this other cluster right here. So there's really a cluster of fib extensions right here, which made a lot of sense for us to get that rejection. But now we're through that, and I don't ever usually go above the 4236. So this red 1 2 projecting up has pretty much exceeded all of the fib extensions. So I'm just going to take that off. And really the ones that we have to go by right now are the white one, which I would be looking at this 2618 to get realized right here, around 114,000 at some point. But with this red 1 2 3 4 5, it's already exceeded the highest fib extension I normally have on there. So I'm still, I don't know. I expect this. We need more consolidation. I just don't know if this is going to continue to just blast up parabolically without more consolidation, unless this count's completely wrong. So let's see if we can drop down into like a little bit more of the count on this time frame. And so if I was wrong about this being a 1 2 3 4 5, and all these divergences having to resolve at some point, like this coming up and doing something like that and then breaking down, then if I was wrong about that, the only thing I could think of is if this was an extended fifth wave, which is certainly a possibility. The red is an extended fifth wave, and so that pushes everything up earlier. This would be super, super bullish if this was the case. So it is possible. So what we'd be looking at there is this being a 1 2 and this being a 1 2, which means we're going to have to come up very, very parabolically. Something like this. So this, I'm already on the lowest degree, so I'm going to have to just change colors on this. So that would be a 1 2. It would come up 3 4 5. I'll just change the color of that to, we already have yellow. Let me do blue. So that would be a 1 2, and then this would be a 1 2. So this would be the ultra bullish scenario where we got to have 5 within that blue 3. I'll change that to purple, and so it would look something like that. And that would not be far-fetched, I guess, with the fundamentals and everything. So this is definitely a scenario as well where the this fifth wave is basically just an extension, because if you do a fib extension, so we can look to see how long this third wave is compared to where this fifth wave could go. So if we do from the start of this, let me tighten that up. if we go from the start of this impulsive third wave right here, we can kind of project to where a fifth wave could be, if it's going to be an extended fifth wave. So if you go like that, from the start of that red third, go to the high of the third, down to the low of that correction of the four, then we're projecting up where a 1-to-1 would be of this move right here. And so if the fifth wave was going to be an extended fifth wave, it would be higher than this 1-to-1, which, is certainly possible if this is all just a 1-2, 1-2, nested 1-2 within this fifth wave, because that would, you see how that projects out 5 that has to resolve much higher like this. So like a 3 wave and then like another move up to finish. And so you get all this wave structure like this that resolves all of that. And then we would start maybe a deeper correction before we go up to finish. So that would be super, super bullish, because that would mean our bull run's like really got a long ways to go. I mean, like that would that would tell me, like, because we wouldn't have even finished the third yet, this yellow third, and for the fact if this happened, like it'd be super bullish, because that means that we would still have some kind of consolidation that we would have to make before even completing this yellow third wave, and then having another consolidation before going into our fifth, if I'm looking at all this right. And so I just wanted to put that out there as the bullish scenario, because like I said, the RSI, these divergences don't have to play out, and fundamentally with everything going on, it wouldn't be far-fetched if this parabola just continues to go up like this, and for us to go into the hundred thousands before having some kind of more significant correction. It'd be kind of hard to believe that we hadn't come back to test this 21-week EMA in so long, but because in the last bull run, well, it doesn't go back far enough on this chart, but we retested this 21-week EMA quite a bit, and we haven't really done that at all. So, but fundamentally, there is a pretty big shortage on Bitcoin on the exchanges, and it just seems like Bitcoin just keeps leaving the exchange. So, fundamentally, this count would make sense for this to happen, and to be, I guess, exposed to this count, then ideally you'd be looking at a target of, assuming that we've broken out of this bull flag right now and we have that hidden bullish divergence that I showed on the daily, you'd be looking, at least for a target of the all-time high, and that's super conservative in this case, or a target at this trend line. Whoops. Target at that trend line right there, or let this run. I would be more inclined to want to see it, because what happens is, at least a lot of these running channels that I see that end up breaking to the upside are like super, super bullish on Bitcoin, especially on the higher time frames in the kind of market environment that we're in. If we break above here, I expect some kind of quick little pullback, and then this could really start running, and that's what would give us that thrust up into this, like an overshoot of the $100,000 mark, and we start hitting some of these fib clusters up here where we had that 1-to-1. We got this 2618 that's in red right here that I said that we should hit. So if we did break above that running channel right there, I would expect it to start really, really pushing up parabolically, and a lot of people, any shorts or anything like that, to really get squeezed, and that the liquidity crisis would really become real at that point, I think. And so looking at this from this count, it makes a lot of sense to start building a position right now. The flow strategy went long, I believe, on the 2-hour and 4-hour at 56,199, so not too far from where we are right now. On the 2-hour it went long, and 55,113 on the 4-hour, so not too far away when you're looking at the this being a big move. And the fact that we'd broken above this corrective channel, it could make sense to go ahead and build a long in here. I would still want to be looking for something on the lower time frames, a little bit more of a pullback, which maybe we don't get much of one, because if you really tighten that up right there, we've broken it and we're retesting it pretty much right now. But me personally, I like to see something a little more choppy like that, and then to come down and give me maybe not that deep, but something more like that, and then coming down like that, and then giving me a move off, and that's where I would want to enter. So ideally something like that. It could pull back into the 382 to point 0.5 range, give us that structure that I was kind of talking about, something like this, and give us that pullback. And that's what I would really want to be buying right there. But there is merit to be buying right now on this little retest, but you just have to be aware that there could be another pullback, a more drawn out one coming off of this when this finishes its channel up. So if I was to be getting in right now, I would be looking at an intraday. I wouldn't be looking at like, I'd be looking at more of an intraday like this. So maybe we could get like a push down real quick to 382 or in here. I doubt it would go down to the point. Maybe it would. I don't know, because it would have to retest that resistance right there. Maybe we got some kind of push down below this trend line briefly. That would be like a good entry to target, like maybe this negative 236 up here, which would kind of line up with some of this resistance right here. So that would be a good intraday long. A quick pullback, good intraday long up to this level right here. Well, really wouldn't be an intraday. I guess it'd be a multi-day, maybe 2 day. Sometime tomorrow we'd target up here to take profit. So I think this would actually be a pretty good range to get in anywhere in here if we get a push down. Really from the 382 down to the 0.5, so around 56,947 down to 56,479, and then target that negative 236 around 59,229 would be good. Because if I got in here, I wouldn't want to be holding it like it's going to keep going up like I did on the higher time frames. You really want to get in on bigger structure pullbacks for higher targets, if that makes any sense. See how this is like a small structure move? We're getting on a small structure retrace. We need a small structure take profit. We don't need to target something way up here. If I was targeting something way up here, I would wait for this to play out as I showed right here, and then a bigger structure retrace of that move to target something up here. You see what I mean? Because you can see how a move like this would project for a higher target. Whereas if we're entering on a move like this, then we're really only should be projecting for a target of that retrace and not getting greedy and holding, and hoping that it'll just continue going up, because you'll end up probably getting chopped out. So this is really the trade that I'm looking at right now for the day, I guess. Holding on this trend line. I would like to see a thrust down into here, just right into that support right in there, but I just don't know if it'll do it since people are watching this trend line. So even if you were to get in like right in here with a stop down here, it's still not a terrible risk to reward. Target the negative 236. You're basically just targeting the supply right here. You see how there's a lot of supply. Every time the price came up through here, it got hammered back down, hammered back down. And so the price is likely to revisit this level up here. I feel like after this pullback, especially after breaking the bull flag structure like this, and fundamentally the momentum should continue. And so really just getting in now and having a stop below this demand level down here, you still would get close to like 1.5, 2 to 1 risk to reward for like a day or two long swing trade. So I think that would actually be a pretty good setup right there if anybody wanted to take that. And then at that point, other than scalps, there's probably not a lot to do. You'd just be holding that long until you get up to here. Maybe you could find some scalp shorts, out of the supply zone before we end up, potentially breaking above that. But this is kind of what I'm looking for right now as the opportunity. And like I said here, once we get a move up and we do get a bigger pullback, wherever that high ends up being, be looking for something like that. Maybe we just get the 382, maybe we get the 0.5. Then we can target, then we can project higher targets. Normally, any kind of internal retrace that you do and you pull a fib on, you need to have your negative 236 on there, because a lot of times when you get the pullback and it goes to the 0.5, the target's going to be the negative 236. You'll see a lot of times the price gravitate to there and get some kind of reaction before it either goes higher or it just ends up being a reversal. So that negative 236 is a good target. And then looking to see if that lines up with anything confluently. And so, we do have this. So if we got this kind of price action to play out, we got in right in there, we would be looking for negative 236 to trend line. Let's take profit up there. So that would give us like a decent take profit, and that would be a good swing trade to take. And then if we clear this, then we're looking for continuation higher once we stay above that trend line right there. So these are just some things to be looking out for. This is kind of how I'm viewing the market right now in this structure. This is how I'm going to be playing it. Looking for a long here, targeting this supply right here. If you wanted to try to hold out a little bit, you could see if it breaks above that supply, because if it does, it would likely go to retest the all-time high here. Any kind of pullback above this supply, I'd be looking to buy for a move to the all-time high. So like if it popped above here and then pulled back and retested this supply as support, I'd be trying to get in for a move to that previous high right there. And then looking for some kind of structure breakdown right here to give me a pullback of this whole move for a swing trade long to potentially target like the negative 236 in this upper trend line. Then if it breaks that, then I would say a portion of this you probably want to hold in anticipation that this might break, and just make sure you take some profit there, and you can always add back when it breaks above and gives you some kind of retest, and then tighten your stop up above below this trend line, because normally when it breaks above these and it holds, it's usually going to run pretty quick and you're not going to get a fake out back below. So those are some things to look for over the next few days, and by Wednesday, when I do this next live stream, we'll probably have more price action play out and see how some of this played out, if we ended up getting some kind of channel like this and getting some kind of pullback, and if we were able to get an entry there, just see how all this that I talked about today would have played out. This is just a good practice to do when you're trying to learn trading or technical analysis and plan out your trades for the week. Just give yourself some scenarios to look for. That way you're not just opening the computer or you're looking at your phone and just hopping into something prematurely. You have somewhat of a plan. It helps you to be a little more patient. And then just for me, I just scalp. I like to scalp while I'm waiting for these things to play out. That keeps me busy while the good setups end up forming. So if you guys have any questions or anything in particular, let me go back to the live stream chat. I didn't even see that. Okay, if there's anything you guys wanted to look at, we could look at altcoins or something. If you guys wanted to look at those, some of the ones that I'm looking at, Algo is one. Nope, not Algo. Bitcoin. This is actually, it's funny how like the market moves so predictably on these high time frame runs like this, because I got in Algo back here somewhere right in there, because I thought it was going to pull back and retest that as support, and this is pretty much the squiggly that I made from like way back here. So we've hit the 1-to-1 extension. Now it's just chopping around a little bit. I'm going to take this off, and so I'm really expecting this to we're holding on the 21-week EMA. I'm really expecting Algo to take off this year. My first target really is up here around the 1618. So I did re-enter into this because I think there's a lot of altcoins. This is just one that I have a little more confidence in. I think that it is flagging and holding support above the 26 or the 21-week EMA, and it's going to have a push at some point over the next few months, we'll start gravitating to that 1618 up there. And so I'm already back in that holding. Let's see. Please tell me about chart of theta. I hadn't. I've seen people post theta on. I don't know, Coin Caprica. Coin Market Cap. I've seen people posting charts of it. I wish. A lot of these I just don't know about until it's too late. Um, yeah, theta's super super bullish. I mean, when you see these kind of charts like this, you can usually expect that we're in some kind of third wave because it hasn't really resolved everything. If you look at this, like it hasn't completely went parabolic yet, and it doesn't look like it's finished any kind of five wave move. So like whenever I just at first glance when I look at one of these charts, um, that's kind of what I see. And so this right here actually looks like it was the first impulse, and now we're in some kind of big 3 4 5, and then you can even go down to this that looked pretty obvious 1 2. So we can do some projections off of that. That's the first thing that I would do, is do some projections. So you do from this big 1 2 right here. So that gives us some projections. We're already reaching the upper ends of that 1 2 because it was such a deep wave 2 that it really makes the fib extensions like kind of low right here. Which in price, that's actually a pretty big move though. I mean, that's from 4 cent all the way to like $13. I mean, that's ridiculous. But you can see that 1618 got respected. I mean, you'll see this very often when it's a very obvious 1 2. It'll go to that 1618 and reject most often. Same way with the 2618, which is what we were looking at on Bitcoin as being a likely target to hit. I mean, these altcoins are different than Bitcoin, but technically, the waves are going to play out similarly, and you're gonna realize similar fib extensions on Bitcoin. So like just like we rejected on the 1618 on Bitcoin, we rejected on it right here. We realized the 2618 on this altcoin. It's probably going to happen on Bitcoin too. It's just how these Elliott waves resolve. It's just I guess the market structure and dynamics of human psychology. This third wave is always going to reach these fib extensions because of just FOMO and all the laggards getting in. After this, if you're early, you get in on the wave 1 2. If you're the early majority, you start getting in on this 1 2 of the third, and if getting towards the end of the third, you're kind of the late majority, and then the fifth is like the laggards that are getting in at the top of the bubble. So we're still a ways off from that, I believe. But just looking at this 1 2, we've hit the 1618, 2618. We've even went to the 3618 and not quite got the 4236 yet on theta, but you can do this 1 2 as well. See where all these subwaves might end, which I don't even know what's going on right here. I couldn't put counts on that, but this 1 2 is obvious. What this is right here within this third wave, I don't know, but we can project and see where we're kind of at. So we've realized the 1 to 1 got a reaction, which happened to line up with the 2618 of that fib extension. So you got a little reaction at that 1 to 1, and now we're in this zone right here at the 1618, which is high probability for this 1 2 to hit extension wise. Just like that 1 2 high probability was that 1618 extension where we hit and then reacted. And so if this is going to continue higher, you would expect at this point just how bullish this is. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it could end right here and we have to get some kind of chop, but if the market, especially if Bitcoin's about to go parabolic, I think that this could continue up probably even another 10x before a more substantial correction. So it does look super bullish. It could continue up. It could continue up quite a bit before we end up with to have to cool off. It has like a kind of a mini blow off top and has to cool off for a while. But the 2618 would be my next fib extension up there at $148 on theta. But right now, this 1618, I'd be a little hesitant because it could retrace. You could probably even get a 50% correction right here and not even be a big deal for theta. for the long-term bullish count. So that's kind of what I'd be a little hesitant. Let's see what it looks like on the lower time frame. Yeah, not much to come off of. I mean, this is just a really, really strong move. I don't like getting into anything that's already trending super hard. I either like to wait for some kind of retrace, because for me, it's all about managing risk. I don't care if I miss out on a 10% or a 10x move. If I'm FOMOing into something to get that 10x move, I mean, that's just kind of gambling at that point. I'd rather wait for 40, 50% retraces on these altcoins, because at some point you're going to get them. Like right here, that was a 40% retrace. Um, Back here early on, when it's a lower market cap, you got like a 60% retrace, which that was kind of before everything really heated up. But I like to look for the retraces to get in on, especially for these altcoins that are already moved so much. That's why it really is beneficial to try to get into things that haven't done this yet. You try to get into them right around here on this 1-2 of the third. You try to get in them right here. That's why I'm getting into algo, because algo is kind of in that position. If we go back to algo and you look at the count on this, you see how this is like a 1-2 right here. And so to me, this whole thing right here kind of looks like a 1-2 to me. Like this could really, really explode. And that's why I'm looking at it the way that I'm looking at it right now, and that's why I'm wanting to get in here, because it has more potential to go much, much higher to me, just from the Elliott count. There's also potential that that this is just a three about to end, and this was like some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But just the way that this is played out, it looks to me like this has a lot more room to the upside for a big five wave to complete. And so that's why I'm leaning towards this being more of a 1-2, 1-2, and then this third being quite high. I don't know if that makes sense fundamentally, but technically it makes sense to me, and that's why I'm building position on algo for the end of the year, at least targeting right here, and then I'll reassess as the trend plays out. Look at KSM. Yeah, KSM's just another one. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to get in coins like this. It looks super bullish. It's hard for me to get in, because it's like I don't really know where it's at. I much prefer to get into something where I can at least visualize where like my risk point is. But yeah, I don't even know where to start on this one. I mean, it really came right out of the gate and started pumping. So you could do a fib extension like that. We've already realized all of them. You get a reaction at the 1618, reaction at the 2618. We've already exceeded the 4236, so I'd just be hesitant of getting in this. I just don't know anything about it fundamentally. Maybe it'll go like this. Fundamentally, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But I'd be hesitant, because it's just going up and up and up and up. There's really nowhere to get in. It's not giving me some kind of clean flag pattern like algo, or any kind of structure that I can get behind and have a decent feel for my risk. It seems like something good to like spot trade though, if there's not like futures for it, because it trends up. There's probably a lot of good breakout patterns on it if you're just like a spot trader, like on the hourly or something. Yeah, I mean, it's just bull flag after bull flag. So if you wanted to trade something like this to try to make more Bitcoin or USD, which is a USD pair, so you'd have to be making more USDT or something. But I mean, it just gives you, it's in a bullish trend, so just wait for all these bullish flag patterns to form, and just buy every bullish flag pattern that's breaking to the upside with a realistic target. And so there's a lot of ways to make profit there. So you can see that was kind of like a pattern. Get a retrace after the breakout, 0.5618 retrace, you get in. There's these alts are really good to play, especially when they're trending hard like that, because it's just super easy. That's why I love watching uh, parabolic moves play out, because you can get in with on lower time frames with really controlled risk, but you can't really target. Like I couldn't come back out to the 1 week and say, if I get in on one of those bull flag breakouts, I can't just like hold it and target somewhere way up here. I'm really just getting in and out like within a day or something like that. So I'm looking for all those bull flags, maybe like on a 4 hour. And every time one of these diagonals breaks, one of these diagonal resistances, um, and it's probably almost every single one of these, you end up with follow through on, depending on how you draw it. Not all of them are as clean, uh, but you can kind of anticipate follow through, especially if you're above like these moving averages. You can anticipate follow through on a lot of these. And like I said, they're not always as clean, but a lot of the clean ones anyway, especially follow through. Like that one was pretty clean, gave you a retrace, broke out, stayed trending, nice diagonal there, broke out, retested, kind of went back below, trended. So there's a lot of good opportunities on these that are trending super super hard on the higher time frames, especially like if you open a chart and you see it on the weekly, just having weekly candle after weekly candle going straight up. It's probably a good one to do momentum trades on the daily, intraday, like on a 2 hour, 4 hour, looking for those breakouts. VIDT was one that I bought the other day, and I didn't realize there was so much history on VIDT. Originally, when I got into it, I thought like I was looking at the Binance chart, which starts like right here, where you had the sell off, like when it got listed on Binance, and it's like a typical Binance sell off reaccumulation, 1-2 type structure that I saw on Uni. Uni did the exact same thing, like from here to basically this price action right here, up to where it broke out from right here and really went up. All that price action is almost exactly what Uni did before it went up 10x, and so that's why I got into VIDT. I wasn't aware that it had all this price action in the past, which really isn't that big of a deal either, because it just looks like one big 1-2, and now we're coming out of this with a 1-2, and to me, we're above this 21 week EMA. It just looks bullish the way that formed this pattern on Binance. It looks to me like we might get some kind of retest of that resistance and then continue the trend up. And the first target here, considering that this 1-2 was so big, would be the 1-to-1, because it would be such a decent sized move. It's almost 8x. And then ultimately, fundamentally, if this makes sense, I have no idea. Ultimately, it would be up there. I would probably already be pretty much out of it by this point if we got this trend to continue up to the 1-to-1 around $8. I would pretty much already be out. Like I probably wouldn't be holding for up here, because I think we would potentially have some kind of correction. And fundamentally, I don't even know if that's possible for it to get up there, because I don't really know much about this project. I'm just kind of trading this based on the technicals, and this looks quite bullish to me for this to continue up, especially if everything else is going to continue higher this year. Is there any other altcoins that you guys wanted to look at? Some of the big ones like SNX are setting up. I've been watching. I got out of SNX completely, but you know, it's looking like it's putting in some kind of decent retrace of this. If this is like a 3 and then we're putting in a 4, I would be looking for somewhere in here. Which so far we've hit the 0.5. You can see that went through the 0.5, reacted, hit it again, and now we're coming up. This could be the low. If it is, I would be looking for a break of this diagonal. So that is what I have my eyes on. When that breaks on SNX, I'm probably jumping back in. I'm going to at least target the all-time high. So I would be getting in on a break of that and probably have a stop somewhere down below the trend line, target the all-time high. But I would expect it to probably make it a higher high to finish. Because if you look at this, it just looks like a picture perfect. This is like a contracting flat pattern. I don't even know if that's really a thing, but I see this a lot. Triangles can't be in the 2 wave, So it has to be some kind of flat pattern, but I don't, you know, there's not really a flat pattern that I see in Elliott Wave Guideline that looks like this, but that looks like a clear 1-2 to me. Maybe the 2 ended there and that was a 1-2. I don't know. But this looks like a 1-2 structure. That could have been a 3-4-5 and then completed this whole thing, and this could be the end and we don't make a new high. I don't know. But I'm kind of looking at this as a 3-4 right now because this is holding up so well that if when this breaks above, I'll hop in to a long and probably target the all-time high on SNX. What was that other one? I saw someone mention something. Oh, sushi. I haven't traded sushi at all. It was one of those that just constantly went up, and I never found a good place to get into it because I wasn't around early enough, like on Uniswap type stuff. I just wasn't involved in DeFi stuff early enough on, and I missed a lot of these. And this is one that just kind of just gave you pullbacks to get in. I just never really got into it, and it's not super clear to me. I just like to see structure that makes more sense. And right now, this is one that's really unclear for me for like swing trading. But it's just like the same boat as anything that's really bullish. You buy a 50% pullback on it, and you're going to be doing pretty well in a strong trend. Like all these pullbacks that it gave along the way. I mean, that one was crazy. 50% there, like 35%. 30%, so like 30-40% corrections on these that are strong are good ones to get in. Yeah, I would trade them intraday too. I just it's just too late in the game for some of these to do swing trades on, in my opinion. Unless for like SNX, like I was showing, like you have a diagonal that's kind of clear, it looks like a 3-4, and you could do a swing trade on that and hold it for a couple weeks, see if it goes above all-time high. But some of these that are like super unclear, I would just be trading either intraday or getting in on more significant pullbacks. It'd be kind of hard trading these when the structure is just unclear. So let's see. I'm trying to think if there's something else that. What was the other one? Oh, Uni. Yeah, Uni is. See, Uni was one of those that I just got in early. It was just a super super clear bullish pattern. You had resistance right there. I could tell we were coming up to test it again, and it looked like it gives you that typical inverse head and shoulders pattern that you see a lot of times at the beginning of these like massive runs where you have an impulse. The correction gives you some kind of like uh, inverse head and shoulders where this wave right here gets retraced to the 0.5618. You're starting to head up to break that resistance, and that's the time to get in. That's usually when I hop in because when it starts to run, it runs pretty hard. We did get a nice pullback right there, which happened to stop out one of my longs, which was very unfortunate. But majority or one of the longs that I held on Binance, I basically held from like $4 all the way to somewhere right in here, right in that distribution right there. I got out a little early, but Uni doesn't look like it's done yet. I mean, this one actually does have clear structure to me. That's why I've kind of drawn this on here. Let me just take this off so we can see it. But I kind of think that we're putting in some kind of flat on Uni for a 3-4 because it just looks pretty clear. You got this purple 1-2. You got a 1-2 right here that was clear coming out of that correction right there. 1-2. Another 1-2. This right here looks like it completed this green 3-4-5. Then we came up to complete this blue, the blue 3. So we had the green 5 waves that completed that blue 3, and then we're in some kind of correction right now with an A. This is some kind of B. I think we're in some kind of running flat. I would kind of want this to come lower. Ideally, I would like to get back in here if I was going to get into Uni. I'd like to get into this green zone, but I don't know if it'll come that low or not if everything starts breaking out. I mean, it kind of looks like it's in a flag right now in the lower time frame, so it might break down. But I'm going to be keeping my eye on Uni because I want to get back into it. I don't think it's done. I think Uni has got a ways to go. I think Uni's got a ways to go before it's done, so I'm going to be watching this one. See how it resolves, because if I can get back in a little lower, um, somewhere at the bottom of that, like a parallel channel, like if I can get in at the bottom of that parallel channel, stop down there, like you could target higher, target another high up here. It could go to 3618 up here, which won't be out of the question. I don't think as popular as Uni is. I hear a lot of people talking about. I'll look at Tomo real quick. Let's see. I had Tomo a long time ago and I sold it. Back here, I bought Tomo right in here, and I played. Yeah, because it was it was in October. I bought some. That was when I was just messing around on KuCoin. I think it was only on KuCoin back then, and I think I got like a 2x out of it and sold, and I just never got back in it. Which opportunity cost would have been crazy on this. I mean, as long as it stayed sideways in there. But yeah, Tomo is definitely one that is interesting. This would be one I would be more inclined to hold as a swing trade because it had such a long consolidation, and we're breaking out of that long consolidation. We flipped it to support. It wasn't the cleanest in the world, so it came through here. But I mean, that looks like a 1-2 where we came back to support in 3 waves. Which, if you pull a fib on that, I guarantee you it hit the 0.5. What's going on? Oh, let's see. Pull a fib on that. Yeah. Is that on fib? Yeah, you got to put it on log scale. So put it on log scale. It hit the 0.5 like to the tick. Went through it a little bit right there. I mean, it's just picture perfect. 1-2 to me. Right here. Coming in for a 3. We can project where the 3 would go based on this 1-2. So we'll do a fib extension of the 1, go down to the 2, the bottom of the 2. So the 1-to-1 would be here, so it's very likely that it will go to this area right here, like super likely. And it's even likely in this case that this is going to continue much higher over the year. I don't know anything about Tomo really fundamentally. Like I said, I traded it way back here, and that was just because it looked like it had bottomed. Like the market at that time looked like it had bottomed, and I thought we'd get a pump. So yeah, I mean, $4.50 almost seems like a given at this point on Tomo. Where you put your stop loss if you were to get in right now, I don't know, but because it's kind of just chopped around and continued pretty bullishly. Let's see if I can go down a little lower time frame. I mean, that kind of looks like a running flat about to take place here, honestly. Some kind of contracting or like a rising, what do they call it? Running channel. That's kind of what it looks like. If we do the RSI, you can see that it's almost a hidden bull div like I was talking about on Bitcoin earlier. See how the RSI almost made a, well, never mind. I thought it almost made a double bottom. So if that would have made like a double bottom or even a lower RSI, then this would be a hidden bull div because the price is making higher lows, but the RSI made a lower low. But it didn't look like it quite made it down there. But it's still hidden bullish ish to me. Like it's got the look of it, even though the RSI didn't quite get down there because it's just kind of contracting, and it won't go any lower. It's just going higher. So Tomo would be a nice one to get in, just like Bitcoin would be if it broke above the this running channel. Let me tighten this channel up just a tad. Well, I think that's probably good. This is on CoinMarketCap, so these wicks might not be real. That was a little bit of a fake out. So if it continues up and we get above that and then flip this right here, that would be a really nice place to get in because it will probably run quite quickly. That's just how these patterns play out. If it's going to be super bullish and break above here, it's not going to pull back. It's just going to run really hard. And you would probably realize the one-to-one quite quickly. If not, start a parabolic move on Tomo, that can really give you some extensions up. Potentially even get to the 1618 up here before giving you more of a pullback. So Tomo actually looks pretty good. I like the way this structure is with the 1-2, and we're not too far. We haven't even hit the 1-to-1 of that 1-2 yet. And it had such a long consolidation period back here that it only makes sense that this is going to project, to these higher fib extensions. Technically, fundamentally, I have no idea. But this does look really good because of the amount of time it consolidated. 1-2 is very clear. Hadn't even hit the 1-to-1. 1618 is still high probability for the third. So this has got a ways to go potentially. I mean, you're looking at to go to the 1618, like a 7-8x move. The other one we'll look at before we're done, we'll look at Cake. I know a lot of people, this one like fundamentally supposedly like a lot better than Uniswap right now, when you look at the metrics and everything. So it caught my eye a little bit. I really missed out because I was wanting to get in like when this diagonal broke. I was kind of watching it, a couple days ago there. That would have been like the ideal place to get in because I mean it almost went 2x from the time that it broke that, and so it was kind of unfortunate. It was a little late to get in. But I had been watching that as a potential. This looks like a 3-4-5 or like a 3-4 correction to me because you have something real bullish that comes out right here, which this could be some kind of like, I don't know. That could be like some kind of 5 wave right there that finishes. It's just like a diagonal type one that goes like this. Whoops. Kind of looks like a diagonal. And it's not super clean. I don't know. I don't know what this is. It looks kind of weird down here. But that for sure is a third wave. I don't know how this 1-2 is viewed down here, but this is for sure a third wave. And so we were in some kind of 4, and then we're going to have to come up for a 5. How high this 5 is it just going to be a regular 5 where we make a little higher high, or is it going to be an extended 5? I don't know. It sounds like fundamentally Cake's got a long ways to go when you look at differences in market cap compared to Uni. So 5 could go, a good bit higher. So I'd be looking, probably keep my eye on it, see if I can see any setups that might make sense. I think that this easiest setup would be to try to get some kind of retrace of that initial move right there and staying above this EMA and trying to get in on that pullback for a move higher. But it had already pumped so much it's hard to justify going in real heavy on a swing trade. So I'd have to see some structure play out here and some kind of retrace or something. Are there any other ones that you guys wanted to look at before we get off? I feel like altcoins have got a lot more room to move though. A lot of the, especially the ones that haven't moved so much yet, that really haven't got started. I'm excited for like this summer and really like the end of the year, like Q4. I think that, like so many projects are going to be like 10x from where they are now, if not more. I guess I should probably pull up ETH. Never look at that. Take a look at ETH. ETH looks super bullish. Like I'm just waiting. Let me get rid of all that stuff. I'm just waiting. When ETH breaks this diagonal right here, you've got to be exposed to ETH, in my opinion. Like from a large cap. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go 2x in a very short period of time. We flipped all-time high. We flipped all-time high, and now we're putting in a bull flag. And these diagonals like this, especially if this is going to run, is going to probably play out very quick. So you want to be exposed to it. Like if it breaks out of here like this and we get some kind of pullback, this is going to start running quite quickly. And I think we'll go 2x in a matter of weeks on Ethereum. I mean, this is just super, super bullish to me. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Oh, HNT. Let's see. HNT. Wow, this would have been this is another good example of bullish structure. You see how this was like a 5 wave? That's not what I wanted to do. This right here looks like a 5 wave, makes a 1, you get a 2. Come out of that and another 1, 2. We're in the middle of a 3. Most all altcoins that you see that are trending are going to be in some kind of structure like this right now, where you have a 1, 2 major 1, 2, and you're in the third still. So most all altcoins are somewhere right in the tail end of a third, where we have another big move up, I think, to finish that third, and then we have a bigger correction for a 5 later on. A lot of altcoins are in that scenario right now, but this is almost just like Uni. If you look at it, you see how you got this resistance right here? Uni was just like this. You had the 1, 2, you get your like head and shoulders type pattern. These are like what I live for right here when it comes to trading. Looking for these setups like this, where you have this clear impulse correction, and now you form an inverse head and shoulders with a nice looking 1, 2 right here. This consolidates. When it breaks that resistance right there, you've got to be in it, because like as long as that consolidation took right there, um, let's see, oops, yeah, as long as that consolidation took in this period right here, you can expect high extensions, because we can do a fib extension from the start of this, which was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go to that high down to the low of the 2 right here, and project. We've hit the 1-to-1 reaction. I would expect this to go up to here at some point, just like all alts at some point. I mean, everything's going to pump at some point. If like Bitcoin keeps going higher and Ethereum rips 2x like I was just showing, altcoins, regardless of their fundamentals, are going to pump. I mean, it comes down to me, fib extension levels just end up getting hit just because of the market's like structure, or the market psychology with the FOMO and all that. A lot of these higher extensions just end up getting hit, and I would be quite confident that will probably end up getting hit if it's just like Uni. I mean, this looks very, very similar structure to Uni. 1, 2. This is probably a 1, 2, and we got higher to go. I would have really wanted to get in right here if I was going to get exposed to a long or on a pullback like that. Right now is not really the time to jump in. Even if you think it's going up, you think there's a good probability of it going up, it's just hard to get in because there's just no, you kind of miss that pullback, you miss this pullback, you really miss the breakout right here. I mean, all the prime opportunities to get a really good position on this is not there at the moment. But it does look like that it could realize that at some point during this bull run, based on the structure. Because I just see this pattern. This pattern plays out over and over. These are the kind of patterns you really want to look for. These very clear, like diagonals, that have taken a long time to play out, that give you this inverse head and shoulder. You don't even have to know anything about Elliott wave. Just be able to spot these like consolidation structures that take a long time to play out, because when they break, they're going to trend. Because basically what it's doing is it's extending that move. You're basically getting an extension of that move. That's why this has got to trend so much once it breaks out, especially in the market environment that we're in right now. All right, I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and end it. It's been well, I guess, how long have we been going? I didn't start until I've been going over an hour. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Appreciate you guys joining. I got it recorded, so I'll post it on YouTube if you want to watch it later. I'll see you guys Wednesday.